one of the most amazing combinations of luck that Argentinians have and libertarians had was to get a typical neoclassical professor that some years ago, let's say 10, 15 years ago, learned about Red Rothbard that critiques, he used to teach, the perfect competition model in school, the monopolistic competition and the monopoly model. He read Rothbard and he said the whole thing is garbage. And so he completely switched, not just from neoclassical to Austrian, but also from a typical classical liberal to anarcho-capitalist. And I have shared with many people, like the many, many times that in national television, Milei has mentioned the names of Rothbard, yourself included. All of the people that we follow in the libertarian circles have at some point been quoted and mentioned by Milei. So he got involved in politics indirectly because in Argentina, there's a large tradition, I guess, and custom. TV is still very important in Argentina, which is, and radio. Some way, somehow, they have been very good about merging. Instead of seeing it as separate from YouTube and separate from online, they have merged TV and radio really well with online. So people continue to watch the shows and all that kind of stuff. So there's always debate programs at night, like talk shows. And sometimes the talk shows can actually be a 1 hour long. Sometimes it can be 3 hour long. People like debate. When you go to Argentina, it's the only place where you and I literally feel like home, because we're walking down the streets and there's people talking about monetary policy on the streets. This is just, can't imagine what we're discussing. And I like soccer, so they're talking about soccer and sports all the time. Very interesting situation in Argentina, very peculiar, different than even some other places from Latin America. So they invite a lot of libertarians. A good friend of mine who's a director of Libertad en Progreso think tank, Echevarne, he told me the story this way. Agustin is very nice, mildly spoken libertarian spokesperson. So he will go to those shows. They will give him 10 minutes out of 3 hours once in a while. And then everyone else in the panels, in the talk show panels, would just talk and talk. And as soon as the libertarian would want to say something, they would just raise the voice, and then the libertarians would stay down and whatever. At some point, they invite Milei at one of those shows. When the other one started raising the voice, Milei said, I'm going to raise it even more. And then he starts raising the voice. Now they have to listen to him. And a lot of people were not happy about it. But this is the interesting thing. Is the very first time Milei came out on TV, the ratings went through the roof. People responded amazingly. I'm talking about 5 years ago or something, somewhere around
now, at that
around
point, was he just like an investment banker?
No. Well, he did different things. For sure, professor, right? And sometimes he would do stuff like, I know he was working as an economist in the airport, managing everything that has to do with finances, the big picture stuff, things like that. But always his job was being a professor. And on the side, he was doing investments on his own. And he was doing works like working for the airport. So he was just a regular economist that was teaching. It's very common in Latin America that most college professors are practitioners. So sometimes you don't know if you're more of a college professor or more of a practitioner because they're so intertwined. It's very common that regular accountants in the morning, they go to a day job, and at night they go and teach, or backwards, they teach during the day and they come back to, like in the same day, they go teach a lesson, they go back to their office. Practitioners and academics in Latin America, they're not as separate as in the United States. So you cannot say really he was one or the other.
So the professors actually probably aren't completely off in some theoretical model.
No. They're not, like most of the teaching in Latin America is not theoretical. There are some that are maybe more academic than practitioners, but they're so mixed and intertwined with other practitioners that there's a lot of good feedback back and forth. So the high theoretical. Now, what was very interesting, and I think that's what made Milei very open to reading Rothbard. It was because, I just need something. It's not about ideology or following a specific model. It's about learning. And if I can learn something cool from Rothbard, then I'll learn it. And then he learned and he said, this critique is actually pretty good. So he switched his teaching style and attitude. So finally, he comes out on TV. People respond positively. A lot of people on TV were not happy that he was there, but openly, a lot of people said, okay, we don't like him on TV, but the ratings are through the roof. So we cannot stop inviting him. And then from there...
And Aaron, just to say, because he has a bombastic style. It's not just that his ideas were unorthodox.
Absolutely unorthodox. Now, that's Argentinian style to the max. If you want to say like what's in Argentina, that's like Milei, obviously Milei because he has it's a bombastic version of, but Argentinians tend to be very outspoken. Everyone always has an opinion about everything. Every time it's not just like when you go to when you take the taxi drivers have an opinion about everything. We always make jokes about that. But everyone is like that, literally. When you go to Buenos Aires, everyone has something to say. Everyone's talking about monetary policy. Everyone's talking about politics. Everyone's talking about sports. It's culturally speaking, it's a very rich environment that a lot of people, including myself, enjoy a lot. And Milei is kind of like the extreme version of that one because of his bombastic personality, but his mind is sharp as he gets. He actually, the first time I listened to him in 2015 was his lecture on why Keynesians were wrong when it comes to growth and why Austrians in reality did win the debate against the Keynesians. And when I saw that, I was like, this is exactly because he was using neoclassical tools to show why Austrians were correct all along. And so it just blew my mind.
Maybe just for a second, Aaron. So Aaron keeps saying neoclassical.
Oh, sorry.
So that's
mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the version you would, or the label you would give to like the modern synthesis of the type of economics you would learn if you went to MIT or Harvard or something. That would probably be an undercurrent of it. There's different schools of thought, but that's like the straight down the middle, sort of the foundation that like if you go to any major program, that's what you would learn as the baseline. And then if you wanted to go specialize into something more eclectic,
the perfect competition model tells you what if you use it, you're neoclassical. If you don't use it, then you're someplace else. So he learned about it. He was very well read in Chicago school. He's very well read in the Austrian school. So that combination of bombastic personality, because this is the issue. You can say, oh, it's just bombastic. Oh, no. Check what he's saying. If you look at what he's saying, he's not wrong. He's just saying it in a way. Just imagine Trump discussing Austrian business cycle on TV. Like literally, some people will say, that's crazy. So, well, the tone is crazy, but the content is not wrong. And they've been trying to battle and say, no. Okay, go debate the content. They can't. Because it's almost irrefutable what he's saying. He's saying, yeah, the financing government spending with money creation is going to cause inflation. There's no way out of it. And every single time they've done it, that's what has happened. Today, finally, they've been not financing government spending with money creation. And guess what? Inflation immediately started to be tame. And if it wasn't just price inflation, the exchange rate by itself, the one that is not controlled by the government, that one has stabilized a lot, which means that yes, financing government spending with money creation does causes price inflation all throughout the economy. And one of the reasons why he got elected, because he was telling people, look, we're going to switch things. Things ain't going to be pretty. He told them, and when you guys hear about, oh, he crashed the economy, he said, no. They're just switching from an incredibly soft currency, the most soft of all the currencies, to a harder currency, which for you and I, the dollar is not all that hard, but compared to the Argentinian peso is, one of the hardest currencies. And there's going to be some process of discovery. And he told them, and he actually said, the first 2 years are going to be really rough. In my view, from what he's doing, I think it's only going to be the first year. And I think by January 2025, the economy in Argentina should be in an expansion already. But, I could be wrong. But he was careful enough to tell everyone, the first 2 years, guys, we're going to be in some type of recession. And it's not strange for Argentinians in general, because they have been in a very sort of recessionary, if you wish, or contractionary period all the way back from 2011. They still haven't recovered from the peak of 2011. Even if you ignore the pandemic era, they still haven't recovered. Why? Because the government has frozen all type of entrepreneurial activity into today. They open up the markets already. Investment, it's
can I stop you, Aaron? I had jumped in and maybe derailed you.
That's fine.
Before we get to what he's been doing, just the transition. So he was a media personality,
yes,
wow, this entertaining, provocative economist guy. Wow, he's really entertaining, and hey, he makes some good points. Listen to this guy.
Deep points, which is the interesting, not just interesting, but very deep and detailed. And then, for example, he will be happy to talk about when they switched to soccer, because that's very important over there. Something that I found fascinating. He was explaining on national TV, why is it that in soccer, this is the type of things that and that's why he was so interesting for everyone, because besides his personality, he can switch from very high-end discussions of economics, Austrian economics, business cycle, the solo model, he can quickly switch to say, oh yeah, look, in soccer, you have to be careful because since there's less attack, less opportunities to score, it's more likely that you're going to get surprises. So the smaller teams are more likely to give surprises to the big teams. But in tennis or basketball, since there's so much, think about on national TV, the guy was actually explaining very detailed technical issues about sports, not just about economics, not just about politics, but about any topic that people want to discuss. He's always ready with something to say, something to mention. Very well read, very well educated person with a bombastic personality. And I have never seen anything like that. And that's what I was so excited about.
And he's also a bit of a ladies' man too, right?
Okay. Now, when people ask, on top of the things that most people that, let's say, like you and I, that are a little more to the right, culturally speaking, within the libertarian circles, he has something for everyone. For my friends that are a little more like left progressive or left-leaning libertarians, they like a lot of his style because he was that sounds kind of weird, but he was a tantric sex teacher. He's an expert on things like teaching how to have the best possible sexual experience. And so, on top of all the things that I already told you, he has this kind of like very interesting personal, hobbies. And then he loves dogs with all his heart. And, a lot of people like me love dogs with all his heart. He loved his dogs so much that those little details that he would actually talk about it in the meantime. Oh, and by the way, I love my dog. He was there with me. This is one of the things. Some of his difficult times in life, his dog was there for him. His dog dies, so he sends it to the United States to get him cloned so that he can have 3 more dogs cloned after the first one. So his 3 dogs right now are clones of his dog that he loves so much, his dog, Conan, that's the name of his dogs. The new dogs, he started named them after Rothbard. I think it was Friedman, and the other one would be Robert for Robert Solow. You see, this type of iconic attitudes he has for everyone. Yes, the one people are going to hate him with all his heart. Some of you guys already know that my dad was also a little bit famous in Mexico. I won't have to get into details. And we used to make jokes about my dad that you either hate him or love him, but there's nothing in between. Well, Milei is to the end power. You either love him a lot or don't like him a lot. But he has something for everyone in his knowledge, in his attitude, in his hobbies themselves. So he unintentionally, I think, was able to reach a lot of people. And one of the most amazing moments was when in one of his rallies it wasn't to become a president yet, because he needed to be a diputado would be in the United States. He would be House representative. He was a House representative before being a candidate for the presidency. So in one of the rallies, he was discussing how amazing freedom is. And remember the nice little saying that he says, I'm not here to lead the sheep, but to awaken lions. And that puts everyone over the top. And then he starts mentioning, and we follow the greats in history, Menger, Hayek, Mises, von Bawerk. And I was like, this guy's mentioning von Bawerk on rallies, and regular people are...
And just as an aside, folks, that's the guy, the economist I did my doctoral dissertation on from the late 1800s. So that's what's funny.
I don't know if you can see. Okay. Well, there you go. I have his book right here. Oh, he's mentioning von Bawerk. The moment, I already like him a lot, but the moment that really honestly, it was like, this is amazing. Someone sent me a video of just regular people when they go to the rallies. There's people selling Austrian books right there. People go and buy books from Hayek and from Mises and go to, in a rally, just regular people, non-professionals, buy the book from an Austrian book, go to Milei and ask him to sign it for him. When I saw that, I was like, this is it, guys. This is everything we've been asking for. And I honestly thought, because of his personality, I know he's going to impact not just Argentina, but the whole world. And guess what? People can't stop from following him because he has this type of personality, the charisma, that we tend to say.
Hey, everybody, this is Bob Murphy. Thanks for listening to this clip from the InFi podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please consider subscribing and share this video with others. We've got new episodes dropping every Friday with more insightful discussions. Stay tuned.